What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast.
If you want to be successful, look inside.
We don't like sitting in the discomfort.
Then all of a sudden that day came when I got $20 and 2 free drinks to do a show, and I was like, oh shit, here we go, baby. You know?
Thank God she hasn't caught a chicken yet, because she'll tear her head off.
Don't be soft.
That patience is key.
If all my friends are winning, then it's going to make me want to win more.
Ooh, I'm excited for today's pod on the Sweat It Out podcast. I know both Josh and I have been looking forward to this one for a long time. Today, we have somebody who we've definitely been watching since we were little.
Oh, man, one of the most dynamic players I've ever seen on the field.
Definitely enjoyable. We have a former Packer. He is the MVP of that Super Bowl. He's also a tremendous ESPN analyst. And let me tell you guys, he is a huge health and wellness advocate, and that's something I truly love. Please help us welcome the one and only, the Michigan man, Desmond Howard. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's good, fellas? Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this. You know, it took a while to get me on your schedule and your calendar, but I'm glad we worked it out. So I'm excited about this, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, like, you know, and I appreciate you having me on your live and, you know, really pushing what you're doing is amazing, by the way, pushing health and wellness and fitness. I think it's truly amazing seeing you use your platform from that and bringing on different experts. You know, I was like, wow, like this is really cool. You know, and it's just, it's very much needed, you know, especially in the United States where you see, you know, an issue when it comes to health and wellness and really pushing that through your platform. I think, you know, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. Thank you for doing my IG live. I really do appreciate that. And I had several people who told me how much fun, how much information they gained from that IG live. And they said they reached out to you too. And I said, listen, man, he's like an old bottle of like 7-Up. You know, you just shake it up, and just take the top off because he has that much energy. So it was fantastic, brother. So thank you for doing that with me, man. We really enjoyed it.
Anytime, man. And I'm happy to hear that. And I appreciate the feedback. And I know some of your audience did reach out, and I was so excited to reach out back to them. And yeah, it's truly amazing. Whenever you want me back, man, I'd be more than happy to come on.
Done. We'll definitely do that for sure.
Yeah, I was pumped when he said he was going on your IG live because you know, I used to be a collegiate strength coach back before I started my own health and wellness brand. And too often you see like athletes when they stop, you know, playing, when their playing career is over, they let their health, they let their, you know, their well-being kind of take a back burner, right? They kind of lose that edge. So for you to bring it back to the forefront for people and say, hey, listen, like, you know, I was, you know, a huge football player, and now I'm, you know, obviously still in the sport and doing my thing as a broadcaster, but health and wellness is still, you know, something I pride myself on, is, you know, a message that I think we can all get behind.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think, you know, the older you get, hopefully the wiser you get, and you start to look at things a little differently. And as an athlete, you look at fitness one way, but as a father, you know, as a husband, you know, as a man who's now in his 50s, and I just turned 51 years old.
You're not 50, man. You look like you're 35. Come on. You're not 50.
Bro, you almost look like your throwback picture.
I know, it's not too far off. I was like, did he get that? Is that from like yesterday?
Just got to tighten up the sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys, you know, when things start to change in your life and, you know, you want to attack them, I think it's great with you guys, what you guys are doing, because you want to get to those issues early. I think the earlier you start to address things, then the more beneficial it is later in life that you can have a healthier style of life. So that's kind of what I'm after now. My age group, my age demographic, you know, I see guys who are having certain illnesses, and we can get more into this, but I just want to let these guys know that you don't have to, you know, let your health and wellness go. You still can fight it. You still can, you know, go out there and live a healthy lifestyle.
100%. And that's where I wanted to ask you was, where was health and fitness like strongly prominent. Like, where did that stick out to you? Was it in your career? Was it after your career? Where did that shift for you really happen where you're like, this needs to be a huge pillar in my life that I drive forward every single day?
You know, it's a great question actually, Anthony, because for me, you know, what was it? Is it Meek Mill that said there's levels to this? Like there's levels to this, you know what I mean? So when it comes to health and fitness, there are levels to this. And, you know, as an athlete, you know, I had a different health regimen, but I was younger back then. My metabolism was faster. So I can get away with doing things I can't get away with doing now. So I looked at it differently. Don't forget, you know, the objective at that point was to get to Sunday, you know, or get to Saturday, whenever the games were. So that was the objective. And, you know, you have a small window of time in season to get as healthy as you can before each and every game. And that was just the mindset. Then after that, during the off season, you know, I was able to work out with other professional athletes, and, you know, you try to build up all that armor that you can, because there are going to be chinks in it as the season progresses. But then once I retired, then, you know, you start to look at your health in a different light, because now you're not preparing for battle every, you know, Saturday or Sunday, whenever the games are. Now you're preparing for a different type of battle. And so as I've gotten older and gotten a little wiser, I started to understand that, listen, I can't, first of all, let me let you know, I have a sweet tooth, guys. So
ooh, sounds like me.
Yeah, me too.
Right. So I couldn't consume all of these sweets at the same level I used to. And I started saying, well, you know what? I think everything is fine in moderation. So portion control, moderation. So I started to get a little smarter, a little wiser about my diet. And we all know, listen, diet and nutrition, that's over half of the battle, because you can't outwork a bad diet.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
Listen, you college game day guys are getting after it, though. I know one of my boys trains Chris Fowler down here when he's down here in Miami, and you know, he's still getting after it, you know, so yeah. I can imagine you're following suit, and you're probably setting the tone for everyone there.
So what
I tell you what, man, Chris looks great. And, you know, Chris is older than I am, and he looks fantastic. And yeah, but you know, it's funny because we used to work out, you know, on the road, but Chris would be so busy because as the host of the show, like his preparation was crazy. And so, you know, we can work out, and Chris, every now and then we'll work out together, but now he's not hosting the show, but he still has like crazy, you know, TV duties, but he's committed himself to, you know, health and wellness and just getting himself in the best shape of his life. And we always talk about, you know, you have to learn to work smarter and not harder the older that you get. And, you know, like I said, you can't outwork a bad diet. So the health and nutrition part, the diet is such a huge part for us. You know, as an athlete, you know, I would watch what I would eat. You know, you don't want to feel bogged down, especially game day, you know. But later on in life, I started to really get more in tune to like organic foods and things of that nature, and even consuming more water. You know what I mean?
There we go.
That's right.
Yeah, you want to be hydrated when you play.
Damn, it's 3 p.m. It's 3 p.m. and you're almost done?
Yeah, brother.
Woo! Oh, man.
Hey, I'm going to let you know my secret. I consume so much water during my workout, and I did a HIIT workout earlier, so that, you know, I may get through about 60 to 70% of the gallon at that point, you know?
That's amazing. Yeah. So, you know, you obviously mentioned your diet's really shifted over the years. I know as like a college football player, I don't know how it was when you were at Michigan. I know nowadays, right, they're very in tune with like having their own cafeteria and having meal plans and everything set. Oh, man, I was never as big as I was when I worked for the Cuse football team and eating in those cafeterias, man. I was like breakfast, lunch, and dinner just stacked, absolutely stacked. But, you know, how did that mindset really shift, and what areas did you really have to tweak, you know, as you started to get into the professional ranks and, you know, at post-career, you know, heading into broadcasting when, you know, obviously you're still doing a ton of traveling, you're still doing a ton of prep for that, you know, very time consuming. So how did that, you know, shift in your, not only your mindset, but in your preparation and what you're actually doing day to day with your nutrition? You know, kind of take us through some of that. I would love to hear about it.
Wow. I tell you what, you know, That's a very good question because people don't realize, like back when I played, like we used to get like these meal cards, and then sometimes you eat these like greasy burgers in the cafeteria. It's amazing how the mindset has shifted. Even in, look, I travel all around the country. I go, Alabama, Clemson, the top schools, and even lower, other schools too, not the top 5, but everywhere I go now, I notice that inside the football facility, they have a nutritionist. And some teams got like 2 nutritionists who's always like behind this bar, and they can make you like a smoothie, a protein shake. They got fruits, they got vegetables, they got all sorts of little bars. I mean, like the amount of awareness as far as nutrition is concerned is 180 degrees from when I played. Like no one had nutritionists on staff, but now all of these like schools, they got at least one nutritionist on staff because they understand that, it's so important. And I tell people all the time, if you have any sort of vehicle, I don't care if it's a high performance vehicle or what have you, you're going to get out of that car what you put into it. And your body is a high performance vehicle. So you're going to get out of it what you put. You don't want to put cheap gasoline. You're not going to put cheap oil inside a high performance vehicle. If you want it to perform up to its utmost, up to its potential, then you're going to have to treat it properly. Use that same mentality with your body. You want to treat it properly. Put the right nutrients and everything else in it, and it will perform up to its potential for you. So that tells you about the nutrition part as far as football is concerned. It's crazy, but everyone understands it now, and everyone's on board. Now you look at these NFL teams, and you expect them to have it because, hey, these are the pros. And you have guys now when you go to their facilities where people have they'll have like shakes, bottles of shakes, and it will have the person or the athlete's name or number on it because it's specific to what your needs are, whatever you're trying to obtain physically. So it's crazy, man. But people understand now that the nutrition is a very, very vital key in this equation.
And I'll tell you something, like, with all the resources that there are nowadays, like there's no more excuses. Like, and even then there was it's not about making it. You just can't make the excuse, especially when you're giving it to it's like here, all you have to do is take it, eat it, and just do that consistently. Right. And it's just like, you look at players from back then, like yourself, like that information wasn't around to the level of degree that it is today.
Right.
So it's like, sometimes you wonder, like, man, what if we had this information back then?
Yeah.
Right?
No, you know what? I look at my generation. And
I'll tell you guys had a different grit to you guys though.
I love totally different mentality.
I love the mentality and grit from the players back in the 80s.
Hit you in the
and
fucking
the
mouth
90s.
back then.
That's what I fucking miss.
That's when football is really football, guys. You know what I mean? It's kind of watered down now.
Yeah. I love it.
I mean, we eat like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and shit, and drinking some water just to get those choker sandwiches down, and we'd go out there and do what we got to do. So, I mean, these kids nowadays, but I agree with you 110%. No excuses. I mean, not only, we talked about nutrition. They'll bring in like these like people to teach them yoga. They'll bring in people to help them like with their mind to try to touch some sort of clarity mentally so they can meditate. You know what I mean? Like they bring in everything that you need to succeed. So you're right, 100%. No excuses for failure nowadays.
So true. It's so true.
How does it look like for you when, obviously you said you're still able to train on the road and eat the way that you need to eat, but how does that adjust for you when you are on the road and you do have college game day and you gotta be at all these different campuses versus when you can kind of settle in the off season and be home a little more?
For me, it's about the commitment. And in order to be committed to, your health, then you're going to have to start to prepare differently. And, you hear about meal prep, right? Meal prep for me is more like snack prep because I don't really prepare for a meal for on the road, but I will prepare snacks because I think snacks will really do people in. Like,
without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. They'll put you right in the ground.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm always real cognizant of the snacks that I eat. So that's my biggest thing. And then what I do It's not, say I'm going to, say I'm going to Tuscaloosa. I try to find, restaurants that may, serve or provide some sort of healthy meals. And it's always look, for maybe, like I'm big on like Mediterranean and Greek food because I just think it's so clean and I like it's very flavorful. So I look for those type of restaurants, but I'm always looking to see if I'm going to this city, okay, what type of restaurants do they have? And now I'm looking at their menu. So, there's some prep that's involved, but the biggest one for me are the snacks. I just want to make sure I have the right snacks so I'm good and I don't, put myself in the ground with these snacks.
Love it.
I'll definitely say like one thing you brought up about like when you're traveling, like being conscious of where you're eating in a restaurant and stuff like that, but also as well being understanding like, hey, like I have to eat at a restaurant because that's what I have access depending on what I'm doing, an event, my work, where I'm at, right? Not all the time, especially when we've worked with the clients, like we're dealing with high performing people, people who are going to events, who are going to these huge work meetings or athletes themselves, like, like yourself, like you need to be able to just be smarter with the decisions you make at a restaurant, right? Doesn't mean that you have to hold yourself back from eating there, but if you can at least make smarter decisions at that restaurant, you're already moving yourself forward in your success because of the way that you're approaching it.
Right. And it speaks to the commitment that you have, to yourself and to your health and wellness. That's got a perfect example. So a couple of years ago, we were doing the Clemson versus Georgia Tech game in Clemson, right? So I had to fly in there, and Clemson's not an easy place to fly into. So I'd take 2 flights, and then you got to like drive over an hour or whatever. So once I was driving into town, like it was pretty late. So everything was closed, right? I'm like, man, what am I going to eat? And I didn't have anything because I've been traveling most of the day. I haven't really had anything to eat. And so we were passing a Burger King. As we passed the Burger King, I looked at the marquee and it said, the Impossible Burger. And I'm like, oh man, now there's no way I would stop there to get anything from Burger King, but they had the Impossible Burger, which is like a vegan burger patty. It's not beef, it's vegan, I'm like, and they say it tastes just like a Whopper. So I say, what the hell? Let me give it a shot. And man, I ordered 2 of those things that night. I didn't even really eat the bread. And I'm gonna tell you, it tastes just like a Whopper. But making that sort of decision, I could have said, hey man, let's just drive into town. I'm sure they got like a pizza spot open. The hell with it. I just buy a pizza, eat some pizza a night, and go to bed. But I went to Burger King and got that Impossible Burger. And like I said, I didn't really eat the bread. I had a couple of patties, and it tastes just like a Whopper, which was a great option that night as far as me trying to, get a meal.
Yeah, and that's something that I always try to tell my clients is, even if you have to pick an option that's not the most healthy, right? Or even if you did go to a sit-down restaurant, right? Like the thing that you see on the menu can be adapted, like what you did with the Impossible Burger. Like I always tell my clients, like if you go to a sit-down restaurant and they're trying to give you a carb-heavy meal, just swap out the carbs for some vegetables, some roasted or sauteed vegetables. And they're like, well, you think they're going to do that? I'm like, well, are you paying the check at the end of the day? Because if you're paying the check, they're going to do what you ask them to do, man. I mean, and they're like, oh, good point. I didn't think about it. I'm like, when people pay you, do you do what they say? I'm like, yeah, 100%. I'm like, well, then they're going to do the same thing for you. So it's that fixed mindset that I think a lot of people get into, that it's like, it's this way or it's no way. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be that if you just put forth the effort like you do ahead of time or even in the moment to just take a step back and go, okay, well, does this align with my goals? And if it doesn't, how do I modify it so it can?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the other thing too on top of that is that if you have especially somebody who's already working on their health and wants to improve their health, and let's see that they're here during the week, they're eating pretty good, and then they go fly out for a work gig or an event, and now they go in and they eat all this junk food because that's what they feel they have access to because they don't know how to pick the foods at the restaurant. Now they feel like, oh my God, like everything I did during the week died. I suck. Like, oh, F it. Like, I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to like continue this. I'm just going to, whatever, I failed. Right. So if you can at least go out there and say, you know what, let me make those choices. Like Josh said, like, let me remove this, let me remove that. It's going to make you feel better that, you know what, maybe it's not the most optimal food, but I still made the best decisions from where I'm at currently. And it's going to keep me excited to know that when I do go back, I can continue my routine and know that I'm still getting the results that I've been putting in to be able to hit that goal.
Yeah. The beauty in what you gentlemen just explained and described, is the fact that you're actually starting to teach people how to think differently, because they just never would sit down and think that way. Like they would say, okay, I'm getting this salmon and it has this rice pilaf and you know, that in a potato. Now they're saying, okay, well, hey, I don't want this rice pilaf. You guys got any vegetables? I see you got vegetables. Right? Can we trade that out for the steamed vegetables? But see, normally they would never think like that. So that's you're actually teaching people how to think differently when they're at a restaurant, so they can make better choices that can fuel their their health and their wellness. So that's part of the battle, is like teaching people how to think outside the box, so to speak, because we've just been programmed to say, if this is what it says on the menu, then this is how it comes. It doesn't have to always come that way. It's just like a steak. For people who eat steak, you don't get a steak one way. They ask you, how do you want this steak prepared?
Although I don't know, I feel like there's only real one way to eat a steak. It's like as rare as it possibly can come. But I don't know, if I go to a restaurant with you and you're like, let me get that well done, I'm leaving. I'm walking out the door. I'm like, I can't be around this person anymore. He's a psychopath.
No, you want to see a pulse?
Yeah. I want it to still moo on the way over to my table.
Oh my God. No, I'm gonna tell you, because it's so crazy, but like, if people alone just made that minor change, right?
Yeah.
In their, like, not even talking about like, let's forget the gym right now. Forget actually like at home prepping all these meals, or like trying to change your all your meals at home. If you just, when you go to restaurants normally and you just shifted that alone, you don't understand the amount of good that would do for you already, just doing that little shift in your lifestyle. If more people around our country just had that level of awareness.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And then I think that's what we're all trying to teach people, is like, it doesn't have to come this way. You can have it, you can make alterations, you can make changes, based on what your dietary needs are. So, I think we're starting to make people aware of that, and starting to open their eyes to those other options, which is a great thing.
Yeah, all day. And one thing I wanted to ask you was, when it comes to your kids, and I know that obviously you setting the example is definitely the most important way for them to follow in your footsteps and, approach their health and wellness the right way. But what are other things that you do when it comes to your kids, and when it comes to them understanding the importance of health, fitness, and wellness, and taking care of their bodies, especially being young? Because I think that's another challenging thing that parents have, is how can I communicate? How can I show my kids?
Oh, my kid doesn't like to eat that.
Exactly.
Well, who cares,
And showing them the right way to how to approach this, and also make it fun for them,
Yeah. Well, the first thing is to be the example. Like you mentioned that. So I want to be the example. They see what I'm eating. They see what I'm doing. Probably more important than that is to, I like to cook. And if you want kids to eat certain things, you got to figure out a way to make it taste good.
All right, what's Desmond's favorite dish, or what's his best dish?
Yeah, what are you chefing up in the kitchen?
Bro, I'm shoot. Well, they like my broccoli. They love the broccoli. They love the stuffed chicken. I may stuff it with like spinach and asparagus. I like garlic. Like, I like cooking with garlic. That's like my top. Yeah, that's my top. I love it.
Garlic salt on everything.
Oof.
Yeah, absolutely. So they love those dishes. I'm trying to think, what else do they ask for? Oh, I make these turkey burgers on my grill that they absolutely love. And then my daughter, she loves these carrot fries. Like, I'll make turkey burgers, and then I'll make these carrot fries that are incredible. That's man. Awesome. I mean, I love making carrot fries.
See, and I already like that, like the whole, like, making them be like, oh, carrot fries. Like, it's like, you still feel like, oh, I'm like having like a fry kind of thing, but it's healthy fries. Like,
exactly.
I love
and
that.
And they taste good.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what, too? I mean, I don't have any kids, but having coached a ton of people with kids, is you realize that their taste buds are a lot more adaptable than they're willing to even allow you to see. And as long as you lead by example. Kids are so funny, is that they parrot everything you do. They're so in such amazement of like you as a person, and you as their father or their mother. I want to be like dad. And it's like, well, if dad's eating healthy, then I got to eat healthy because dad's fucking awesome. And I want to be awesome. And too often I feel like parents forget that their kids really do idolize them, even though they may not say it all the time.
Right. No, you're right about that. And then another thing is, like I said, I'm not like an extreme dude. So I like everything in moderation. So we'll have some sweets. Like we'll have, I'll have a donut. They may have ice cream or what have you. So they understand that everything is okay in moderation. And then probably one of the most important pieces too, outside of making things taste great, is portion control. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in a generation where you got a plate full of food and you could not leave the table until you finish.
You're talking to two former fat boys right here, man. So don't worry about it.
My football days, 225 pounds.
Two former pole boys right here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I got it to 230 at 5'10", so it was,
I was
not great.
I need to see your before picture.
I burned them all. I burned them all.
I'll send it to you. I still got some.
I put those in the incinerator. Got rid of that.
He's like, I ain't going back there.
I'm not going back.
Man. So that's key too. I try to emphasize that a lot. Like, hey, portion control. I tell you a funny story. So I went over to Italy, right? I was there because my goddaughter, she was at a fashion school in Milan and she was graduating. So we went over to Italy, and it was my first time there. And my goddaughter wanted to take us out, and so we went to this one restaurant, and it was like a buffet, right? So you can just go up there and get all you can eat,
those are
all
my favorite.
you want.
Right, he'll shut him down. They'll kick him out of a China buffet. I don't give a fuck. They see him, they're like, oh no. They lock the door.
But check this out. There was like a twist to it. So there was a sign that said, if you didn't eat everything on your plate, though, then you had to pay extra.
Oh, shit, that's crazy.
I love that. I'm like, this is such a genius idea. Because everyone's like, they go and they stack their plates with all this food, and then they get full, and they just leave the plate, with all that food on it. Because, hey, it's a buffet. But they had that little twist that was absolutely, to me, I was like, I'm so impressed. I love the spot. And then now everyone's trying to finish their food because you can't leave food on your plate. So I like that. I like that little twist to the buffet.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's funny. No, and also too, it keeps you in mind. It's like, well, let me make sure. Let me hold myself back. Let me just put enough where I feel like okay,
right,
and then that's where it tricks them psychologically. Is like, okay, maybe I put too much and I overdid it because I'm eating with my eyes, which is something my dad used to get on me all the time, back in the day, and let me eat this first and let me see if I'm good because I don't want to pay more. I love that.
Well, and too, a lot of it comes down to people eat way too fast.
That's the other thing.
People eat way too fast. They don't even get their brains. Their stuff. Most of the information that your brain receives actually comes from your gut biome. So if you eat too quickly, then your gut's not giving your brain enough, or you're not giving your gut enough time to send that information, that feedback to your brain and be like, yo, stop stuffing your face. You're done, you're full, and then you just overconsume and overconsume.
Or just drink more water before you eat. Right.
But that comes back into the pacing. It's just like when, I love using, football as an analogy. I think it's, the best sport that you can play as like a team and to learn about hard work and pay. Yeah, obviously I would imagine you would agree. But to, even use like, you were one of the best returners of all time, and the patience that you had to have, before you even hit that breakaway, you got to read the lanes, you got to find where your blockers are, you got to find the perfect, angle to take. And if more people did that with their nutrition, right, like they had that patience before they hit that final breakaway, things would show up a lot more clear to them when it came to their actions.
No, I tell you what, man, patience is so important because, patience, it teaches you to wait for certain things, to take your time on certain things. Don't always be in a hurry and a rush, especially when it comes to your health and your wellness. Patience is what's going to allow you to look at this menu when you're about to travel somewhere and figure out what you want to eat. Patience is what's going to allow you to start meal prep. It takes patience to meal prep because you have to prepare. You have to think about that. It's going to be a certain amount of days. There's going to be a certain amount of meals, and you got to take the patience in order to do that. So patience is extremely important in all, but it's worth it. You know why? because it's about you. It's for you. It's for your health, for your wellness, to get the best out of you. So I think patience is a very important factor in the equation, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should all, especially in today's world, start
100%.
practicing a little more of, you know.
Be more mindful, because patience, it has you being more mindful of what you're putting in your body.
Exactly. Patience, mindfulness, intention. It's like those three variables right there all together are super important. It's like, what are you saying? Like, especially in today's day and age where everything is so fast, right? Instant gratification. We can get Amazon Prime in 2 days, or even trying to do it where
I
you
get
can get it
pissed
in
if
1
it comes
hour.
in 2 days, bro. If it takes 2 days, I get pissed. I'm like, what do you mean I can't be here in 5 minutes? Don't you guys have your own trucks?
And they're actually trying to figure out how they can get it to an hour, which is
I know,
crazy.
but bring that fly that drone over here. Give me my. I need my new magic bullet.
But it's so true. It's like fast internet, fast this, fast that.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I sent you a message 5 minutes ago. Why haven't you texted me back? You know, and it's just like, I tell people, I was like, patience. Guys, like, imagine I look back at like my parents and I'm like, yo, when you were kids, it was like, you know, I hear my dad's like, hey, you know, if your girlfriend, you called, you know, your girlfriend's house, the mom picked up, hey, I'm sorry, but Maria is in here right now. You're gonna have to call back in 3 hours. You have to wait 3 hours. It wasn't, hey, I'm gonna text Maria on the cell phone and like get an instant response and be like, why aren't you, you know? So it's like all those principles. It's crazy how you need them. You need them when it comes to, especially when it's your health and being intentional and mindfulness. You need patience as a huge part of that process.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And this, you know, this generation, they're very impatient. Like everything is instant gratification. And, you know, I think that's one of the downfalls of this generation. So in order to get us back on track, we'll have to practice more patience and more mindfulness. And we got to figure out a way to teach this to this generation.
100%.
What are some things that you do to practice mindfulness or in patience? Do you meditate? Is that something that you like to implement in your day-to-day practice, or you know, or is there some, you know, maybe off the cuff thing that, you know, we haven't heard of? I'd like to get your intake on that.
Yeah, you know, I actually used to meditate when I was in Michigan. You know, I was always big in visualization and putting yourself places where you would be, like if it's a game or if it's a test or what have you. And I still do that to the day. I think it's really important now to be present. Because people, I'm like, you know, people, you know, they say, you know, when you're home, because, you know, I travel so much, you know, they say, you know, when you're home, you know, how is it raising kids? I say, when I'm home, I'm present. So I'm not home, but I'm really somewhere else. Like I'm physically there, but my mind is somewhere else. I say, so because when I'm home, I'm present, then everything is fine. Everything is great. And I think if you take that approach, if you're present, you know, I've spoken to a lot of different people about how to be present. They say, you know what, sometimes maybe get up, especially, you know, we live out here, it's lovely, the weather's great, walk outside, breathe the fresh air and feel like you're present. Just be present for that moment. Things like that, you know, they slow you down. It teaches you patience, and it makes you mindful of wherever you are and whatever you're doing at that time. So I would say be present. Learn how to be present no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing. And that teaches you patience.
That's powerful, you know, and I think that's a lesson for everybody to use. It doesn't matter in what part of their life, right? You can use that with your family. You can use that with your own health. You can use that with your friends. You can use that with your business, right?
Exactly.
Just being able to be patient and then also being present at the moment, intentional with that time being with whatever it is that you're doing right there. And then especially if it's important for you.
Right.
Because I think that's the most thing is the fulfillment you're going to get out of that. It's not about, oh, well, I'm just going to check the box off because I was here. I'm here with my family. I'm here with my kids. Right?
You know where it shows up the most? It shows up the most when guys are with their girlfriends or their spouses, but they're constantly on their phone. When you're on these devices, you're not present.
So what does Desmond do? You just hide the phone? Do you put an app where you lock it for a certain hour, or like you're just good at controlling yourself, put it in the pocket and you're good?
I'm good at controlling myself. Like I'll leave it in another room and let it charge. Sometimes, like if we're doing something together, I'll just turn it off. Like I'm notorious for turning my phone off. I'm like, listen, if I'm here, I'm with my family, you know, my extended family, they know how to reach me if it's an emergency, if they need me. So then I'll turn it off. So I make sure that if I'm somewhere with my family, if I'm going out to dinner, like my wife and I, we may go out with another couple, and then, you know, she'll have her phone and it'll be on vibrate. But outside of that, you know, maybe the kids calling us or texting, we're not on the phone at all. You're not checking it. So I think it's you have to be very mindful of your devices and how you use your devices, especially when you're around friends, family, or spouses or girlfriends or boyfriends.
Love that. Absolutely love that. So Desmond, you got that voice when we're like, Desmond's he's not here right now, but he'll be here when he's ready.
But you know, I think it's so important. I think it's so important that we do set those boundaries, right? And because if not, you know, we live in a day and age where people just want to take from you,
It's
you know,
true.
and take and take. And I don't even think that they do it consciously. I think a lot of the time it's subconscious because they're lacking in what they feel fulfilled in, right? So they think that they can get it from other people. But if you set those boundaries, right, and you say, listen, like, this is my family time, or this is the time I'm going to set for work, and when I'm done with this time for work, like, that's it. I'm not working. I'm not doing, you know, you actually give yourself a lot more freedom because, you know, you can be so intentional with those moments.
And you're less stressed too.
Yeah, no, you're right. You do you alleviate a lot of stress with that too. And the key though is to be disciplined. I mean, you have to be disciplined enough to stick to it. It's one thing to say it, but I mean, you know, these things are these devices are addictive. You know what I'm saying? They have these algorithms that are aimed at keeping us on these devices too. So you have to practice a certain level of discipline too, which you guys are former athletes, so you understand the whole discipline piece to this equation.
Yeah, and I think, you know, kind of being in the whole social media world, it gives you a much different perspective when, you know, you can kind of have to be in the back end of it.
sure.
And then, you know, I mean, we target people, you know, through social media for our businesses. So we have to kind of look at those little subconscious nuances and go, okay, how can I use that to my advantage? But also on the flip side, like, how are people trying to use that against me to take away my time and my focus?
And that's why I'm a huge believer in, like, you set this time for your social media, for whatever, if you're using it for work or whatever it is that you need to go in there with the intention of what it is that you need to do for that task. Or I'm going into my social media to do exactly this, and I'm going to remove myself out when I'm done. So that way you don't catch yourself in that rabbit hole of like, oh my God, I'm going to get lost. I want to start watching all these highlights from NBA, NFL, this and that. Next, you know, I'm watching something else, kittens being petted, whatever the heck it is. But you fall down that rabbit hole, and then that rabbit hole traps you, and you're like, oh my God, I've been on here for 3-4 hours. What the heck happened?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the crazy part.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And one thing that just popped into my head is that the things that we're talking about, it's very important that your audience understands that everything starts with small increments. So we're not saying turn your phone off for an hour, for 2 hours, for 3 hours. We're not saying that at all. I would start with maybe 30 minutes. Like, hey, 30 minutes, set your phone down. You know, if you're starting to work out, hey, depending on where your fitness level is, maybe a 30-minute walk a day. You know, things of that nature. Keep in mind, everything starts with small increments. Everyone, we want to meet you where you
Huge
are,
advocate of that.
take you to where you want to go. You know what I mean? But it's going to start with small increments, even when it comes to your nutrition. Like we talked about, making small changes here and there, and then you'll start to see the gains, and then these changes will start to get more and more and bigger and bigger. But small increments, whether it's technology, fitness, or nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Now I got to ask you, we have you on here, right? And I think that there are probably few people that know the game of college football better than you do. Being a Syracuse alum, I'm from Syracuse. I've bled orange my whole life. We're pretty trash right now. I worked for Marone when he was there, you know, the 4 years he was there, and we had some decent years, you know, we played some good football. Wasn't terrible. We're pretty bad right now. I wish, like, when I was there and we had Doug Marone, you know, we would have gotten a little bit more love from the college game day crew, you know, but I get it. You guys didn't want to come to the Carrier Dome and be in that cold ass weather. I get it. But, you know, what do you think we need to do to kind of turn things around? It's been a rough patch since, Pascaloni left and Coach Mack was there a long, long time ago.
Yeah, well, first of all, Syracuse is not an easy place to get to either.
No, it's not. I agree with you there. I agree with you there.
I mean, we're gonna go to Syracuse, but it better make it worth it. Like undefeated, playing against an undefeated Clemson or something.
Listen,
like
I don't even remember the last time we were undefeated. Probably when we played Nebraska a long time ago.
I tell you what, the thing is, for a lot of these college programs, we could talk about the recruiting piece, but that is a completely different show. Like, because I have a lot to say about recruiting, but that's where it starts, in my opinion. Second of all, you got to be able to hit on a quarterback. I think that, you look at Syracuse, they haven't been able to hit on a quarterback. And you look at these teams, at the top teams who are in the college football playoff, they're always led by an outstanding quarterback, And so I think those are two of the biggest things, the recruiting piece, which, we could talk about that all day. And then making sure that you get a quarterback. If you can get a quarterback that's a dynamic quarterback, that's a game changer, who has the it factor, a guy who's a leader too, so he can lead not only the offense, but he can lead everyone in that locker room and change the culture of the program. And I think that's the biggest and first step in the right direction.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, luckily we had, Ryan Nassib was there when we were there. He could sling the rock a little bit, but, having that game changer, especially nowadays with, how much, quarterbacks need to be able to move around, and you need to really,
Absolutely.
you really do need to kind of be a dual threat. I couldn't agree more, and recruiting is the biggest thing. I mean, it's tough to get people to come to the cold, man.
Man.
I get it, bro. I get it. I grew up there, and I sprinted out of there the second I graduated. Right. You couldn't.
Miami 8 years, now Puerto Rico.
You couldn't ask me to go, but you couldn't pay me to go. I mean, my sister's a senior there now, so I'll go back, but I haven't been back since I graduated. And I'm like, my family's like, you want to come back? I'm like, I'll fly you down here. Like, that's, we'll stay in the warmth, 80 and above, 80 and above. No more snow.
How funny.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Desmond, what team are you most excited about this year, going into college football?
Whew, wow, man, I tell you what, off the cuff, I think there's some interesting storylines, because you have some guys who are replacing some first round talent, some guys who had magnificent careers. So I watched a little bit, and everything seems to always circle back to Alabama. But let's say you look at Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, the first pick in the NFL draft, went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a guy who actually played a little last year as a freshman, big quarterback, who they are very high on, as a 5-star. But he played the game that Trevor was out a year ago. It was at Notre Dame in South Bend, and it was actually a game that Clemson lost. But it was a fantastic game. I mean, the kid played well, but they lost that game. Now he's going to be, the starter. Want to see how is Tony Elliott, the offensive coordinator, how he's going to approach the offense now with this kid. Not saying he needs to change anything, but he may need to back things up and water things down a little bit, simply because Trevor Lawrence was a very advanced quarterback mentally too. Like, take away his physical skills, like where he was mentally as far as processing, reading defenses, understanding how to get them in and out of situations, was at another level. And so this kid, who, like I said, he played some last year, but, not enough to be where Trevor was. How's the offensive coordinator going to attack? Don't forget, and then they had Travis Etienne, who also was drafted by Jacksonville Jaguars. He's gone too, and he's like their all-time leading rusher.
Right.
And a quarterback's best friend, some people may say, is the offensive line. I always say it's the running back. If you can have a strong running game, then that takes a tremendous amount of pressure off your quarterback. And with Travis Etienne in the backfield, it took pressure off of Trevor Lawrence early in his career. Now, who's going to be that guy to take pressure off of the new quarterback? So that's one thing to look at. And then Georgia's another team that they may surprise some people this year. It's going to be interesting. Watch the Bulldogs.
Yeah, we got a boy that's a GA with them.
Friends,
he's a quality control guy with them, and he's always telling us, like, don't count us out, man. Don't count us out. We're looking nice.
Yeah,
they got some dudes, man. They do.
So you did mention Trevor and his running back now with the Jags. So what do you think? How do you think they're going to do under Coach Urban Meyer?
Wow, man, oh man. So listen, it's gonna be interesting because Urban has it's his first year as a head coach in the NFL. I think there's a learning curve there. I think he stumbled out of the blocks months ago when he took the job and he hired the strength and conditioning coach, a guy named Chris Doyle. Chris Doyle was the strength and conditioning coach at Iowa. but a year ago, they had to part ways with Coach Doyle because of allegations of racism and bullying by numerous players. So Iowa let this guy go, and then Urban Meyer hired him. Like, Urban Meyer picked this dude up, especially a year ago, where we all know how the climate of social justice and racial discrimination was in this country. And he hired this dude, which, had he been in Gainesville or had he been in Columbus, he would have gotten away with, but not in the NFL, because they got a union. And it's like, hell to the no. You better get his ass out of Jacksonville. So anyway, I say that, so he stumbled early out the blocks, hired this guy, had to get rid of him, had to part ways, however you want to term it. He ain't there no more. And now the new distraction, so to speak, is that he signed Tim Tebow. So here he is, Tim Tebow signing not as a quarterback, but as a tight end, a position he's never ever played before, a position that he resisted playing coming out of college. When people say, I know you won a Heisman in Florida, you won a national championship as a quarterback, but at this level, Tim, we think you need to be a tight end or an H-back. He was like, nah, I'm a quarterback. This is what I do. This is who I am. And I don't know exactly the last time he played an NFL game. Was it 8 years, 9 years? You guys can do the research.
Was it with
but
the
he
Eagles?
ain't played.
Yeah, I think
he ain't played. Huh?
I think he last played with the Eagles, right?
Yeah,
Something
I don't
like
know, but I don't know how many years. It was over 5-6 years ago. He brings this guy off the streets and signs him to be a tight end with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's just interesting, some of the moves that he's made so far. The first one could have really divided his locker room. He could have lost his locker room when he brought in Chris Doyle.
I mean, even bringing in Tebow, even bringing in Tebow could do it.
And Tebow can divide the locker room too. So with that being said, I'm just as curious to see how things fare for Urban Meyer as you guys are. And I like Urban. I'm gonna tell you this: when Urban worked at ESPN, Urban has he has 2 daughters who are playing volleyball, on the college level. And I used to go to the volleyball games with Urban Meyer to watch his daughters play. So I'm like, I have a lot of respect for Urban. I like Urban a lot. But he made two questionable moves so far in his tenure that makes you say, okay, well, let's see how this plays out, because this is going to be interesting.
I heard a rumor too that he was a possible. I don't know if it's squashed anymore, but I heard something about him probably getting even Percy Harvin back, because I heard Percy Harvin's been wanting to try out with teams, and I heard that they were one of the teams.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that would be crazy.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Percy's a hell of a player too, boy. Ooh-wee.
And they keep bringing up this comparison between him and Nick Saban. Obviously, they're both like 2 of the most successful college coaches of all time. But I think Nick got a bad shake with the Dolphins. He really wanted to bring in
my Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, we're here in Miami. I think he got a bad. He wanted to bring in Drew Brees. The medical staff said no, and obviously Drew went on to have a tremendous career with New Orleans. But I think if he would have been able to bring Drew down to Miami, bring him here and have him be a part of the Fins, he would have had a tremendous pro career as a head coach.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, Nick Saban, man, he's been the best college coach we've seen. There's no doubt about that. I think, besides the whole Drew Brees move, there may have been some other issues that he had down here in Miami with the Dolphins, that things just didn't gel right for him and for the organization. So I think it's beyond him not getting Drew Brees while he wasn't successful down here in Miami.
Yeah, you got a little bit more insider info than we do, so yeah. I'm sure we can dig into that.
I still would have loved Drew Brees down here, though.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, it definitely would have been better than and again, Tannehill kind of had a better career with Tennessee. I think it's just Miami.
I don't know, man.
I think people come down here and they just go buck fucking wild. They're South Beach, all these naked girls, half-naked girls everywhere.
Look at Wes Welker too, man. Wes Welker, they're using him wrong, and then he went to the Patriots, and look.
There you go.
I know.
Exactly.
I know. We got we got Brian Flores now. I think they're turning some stuff around. Yeah, but just to wrap things up, Desmond, we really appreciate you coming on. Obviously, we've been huge fans of yours for as long as I can remember. Watching you in college and watching you in the pros, and seeing you in College Game Day. I mean, I really don't think that there are many announcers, if any, that are better than you at giving their expertise. And shedding some light on what an amazing game football can really be, especially at the college level. So, I want to say thank you for, sharing some of your time to come on here and talk to us. Where, obviously,
and also that look younger than you look younger. Than
I know, man. I gotta get your skincare routine.
Oh man, well thank you guys, man. Thanks for having me. You guys do a tremendous job, and we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, we love it.
We gotta bring you in the studio.
Yeah, if you come down next time you come down to Miami, if you ever cover a game and you got a little break, come in the studio and we'll definitely have you in. There'd be no doubt about that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I love to do that.
So Desmond, where can everybody find you and connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter, and everything is just my name. So I'm on Twitter, Desmond Howard. I'm on Instagram, Desmond Howard, and I actually just got on Facebook too. Again, Desmond Howard. So Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and I also have a website, DesmondHoward.com.
Love it. And just like the way we like to end it here, we always like to ask at least 2 questions on the pod to do a little quick burner. All right, question number 1: what is the craziest and wildest experience you ever had in your football career?
Oh, man, that's easy. I tell you what, we were playing the 49ers. I was with the Packers. We were playing the 49ers in a playoff game, divisional playoff game. And it was in Green Bay. So it was a Lambeau Field. It was nasty. It was rainy. It was wet. And it was cold as shit, right? And so at halftime, because it was nasty and muddy and rainy, most guys were changing their uniform. So I'm changing my uniform. And I couldn't put my pants and everything on because the first item I always would put on would be this hip protector. I had a hip pointer, so I had to put on this hip pad. And the equipment guy didn't bring me the hip pad with the little girdle that you slide it into until like late. So he brought me the hip pad. I'm putting this girdle on, whatever, and I'm getting dressed. And I'm normally like one of the last guys out of the locker room anyway. That's just like my routine. So they're starting to file out of the locker room and everything. And so I'll get my stuff on, I strap up, put my helmet on, boom. So I'm starting to walk down the tunnel. As I'm walking down the tunnel, I hear a whistle. I'm like, the hell is that? And then I heard, meaning like toe meets leather. So they had kicked the ball. So the 49ers were kicking the ball off to start the second half to us, the Green Bay Packers, and me as a returner, I wasn't even on the field.
Oh, shoot.
Wow.
This is the wildest shit ever. It's well documented. You can find it. Coach Homer talks about it. So my man, Andre Rison, he must have been heads up and realized that Desmond's not back there. So he ran back there with Don Beebe. Don Beebe was already back there. And Rison, I guess, caught the kickoff, returned it. He ended up getting hurt. Thank God he wasn't hurt that badly. He was able to, shake it off, but he was hurt. And I'm walking on the field, man, shit. Are you kidding me? That was the craziest.
God, that's like those inside stories.
That's great.
That's the opening kickoff to the second half of a playoff game.
Oh, man.
Oh, I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome.
That's wild. That's great. That's great.
It's funny because when you look back, at the moment you're like shit, but then when you're older and you look back, you're like, man, that is some funny stuff.
Exactly.
That's
at the moment, at the time, it wasn't funny at all. It was a good thing. I had built up some
credibility.
I had a great first half, so I had a lot of equity.
There we go.
That was good.
Love that. And last and final question, man. What is the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to all our listeners today in one sentence?
Wow. I would say that make sure that you start, like I talked about earlier, with small increments. And anything you're trying to achieve, be real with yourself. Be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself, and start off with small increments and stay consistent and disciplined. Consistency and discipline is key in anything that you're trying to accomplish in life. Consistency and discipline.
Love that, guys. You heard it from Desmond himself. Work in small increments. Make sure that you're real with yourself and be consistent every single day. Thank you so much, my brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the pod. It's an absolute blast getting to talk to you, brother.
Hey, man, thank you guys, man. You guys take care. Keep up the great work, too.
Yeah, thanks. We
Appreciate
we
you.
will, man. We'll keep you in the loop for sure.
Yes, sir.